In a storeroom of the British Museum stands a pillar of rough gray stone. It is waist height, restored from 2 fragments of a single block, and 8 lines of Greek are cut into one face. The museum's description of those lines is plain. It is a warning. Do not enter this temple without taking the oath. Stone came off the summit of Mount Hermon. A British officer, Charles Warren, climbed up in 1869, found a ruined temple, and brought the pillar down in 2 pieces. One reading of the Greek runs like this: "According to the command of the greatest and holy God, those who take an oath proceed from here, an oath on Mount Hermon." Because there is a book, 5 centuries older than that stone, which says 200 angels came down on that exact summit and bound themselves there by an oath. The stone is Roman, cut in the 3rd century of the Common Era. That gap is the whole story. The next 10 minutes you will see what the Book of the Watchers actually says. The oath on the mountain, the knowledge that should never have been taught, the creatures that came of it, and the sentence passed on them all. If ancient texts are your thing, subscribe. Start with what the Bible gives you. Genesis chapter 6. Daughters are born to human beings, and then this: "The sons of God saw that they were fair, and they took wives for themselves of all that they chose. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days." That is nearly all of it. 4 verses, no names, no place, no explanation. The Book of the Watchers fills that silence. It is the opening section of the work we call 1 Enoch, the first 36 chapters, and it does what Genesis refuses to. It names the angels, puts them on a mountain, lists what they taught, and records their sentence. This is not a medieval invention. Most scholars place the composition in the 3rd century before the Common Era, and George Nicholsburg, who wrote the Standard Commentary, dates the rebellion story itself to the 3rd or even the 4th. Copies turned up in the caves at Qumran, written in Aramaic on parchment. 11 Enoch manuscripts came out of Cave 4 alone, opened in September 1952. The oldest, catalogued as 4Q201, still carries these words: "The leaders took for themselves wives from all that they chose, and began to defile themselves with them." The complete text survives in one language only, Ethiopic, and copies are still being found. So, the descent. They were 200 in all, and they came down on the summit of Mount Hermon. Hermon is not a symbol. It is a real mountain, 2,800 meters high, the highest point in Syria, its summit on what is now the Syrian-Lebanese border. Their leader is Semjaza, and his first recorded words are not a battle cry. They are a worry about liability. "I fear ye will not indeed agree to do this deed," he says, "and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin." So they make it binding. "Let us all swear an oath," they answer, "and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations." Then the text does something strange. It says the mountain took its name from what happened on it, because they had sworn and bound themselves upon it. Hermon, from the Hebrew for a curse. 200 angels, 1 mountain, 1 oath sworn under a curse. That is the crime everybody remembers. But the book charges them with a second one, and scholars who work on this text treat that second charge as a tradition with a life of its own. Here is chapter 8, and listen to what sits side by side in a single sentence. "Azazel taught men to make swords, and knives, and shields, and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth, and the art of working them, and bracelets, and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures, weapons and eye makeup in one breath, as a single category of leaked knowledge, Others taught enchantments and the cutting of roots, astrology, the constellations. This is not a story about angels who wanted wives. It is about knowledge arriving before anyone was ready for it. Scholars reading chapters 6 to 16 argue that two traditions are braided together here. One about the marriages, one about the teaching. The book makes the double charge explicit. The Watchers rebel by taking wives, and by teaching humanity knowledge the text rejects. Two crimes, then, and the book treats them as equally serious. But the consequence of the first one is the part of this story that leaked out of it and into everything else written afterwards. The women bore giants. The manuscripts disagree about how large, so we will leave the number to the scribes. What they agree on is appetite. The giants consumed everything men produced, and when men could no longer sustain them, they turned on men and devoured them. Then it escalates past humans. They began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. And then comes the line that turns the book. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. The planet itself files the complaint, and heaven answers. Not with a flood, not yet, and not with anything as simple as fire from the sky. The answer arrives as a legal proceeding, and it opens with a report filed from heaven. In the translation by R.H. Charles, chapter 9 opens with the archangels looking down. Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down from heaven and saw much blood being shed upon the earth. What follows is not a battle. It is a sentence, delivered one name at a time. Raphael is given Azazel. Bind Azazel hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness. Make an opening in the desert, which is in Dudael, and cast him therein. Place upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover his face, that he may not see light. A hole in the desert, with a name. And the second order is colder than the first. Gabriel gets the giants. Send them one against the other, that they may destroy each other in battle. Heaven does not strike them down. It turns them on each other. Michael is told to bind the Watchers for 70 generations in the valleys of the earth. Then, chapter 15 answers a question nobody asked out loud. What happened to the giants when their bodies died? Evil spirits have proceeded from their bodies, the text says, because they are born from men, and from the holy Watchers is their beginning. Their dwelling shall be on the earth. So the flood killed the bodies and left the spirits behind. That is the book's own account of what walks the earth afterwards. But the strangest scene in it is still ahead, and it does not involve an angel at all. Enoch is a man, a scribe, and he is the one sent to deliver the verdict in person. Azazel, thou shalt have no peace, he is told to say. A severe sentence has gone forth against thee to put thee in bonds. A man carrying a sentence to an angel. Then the Watchers do something no one expects. They ask him for help. They besought me to draw up a petition for them, that they might find forgiveness, Enoch says, and to read it in the presence of the Lord of heaven. Angels, asking a man to speak to God for them. The text tells you where he sat to write. By the waters of Dan, southwest of Hermon, while the Watchers waited and wept at a place called Abel Main. Named places on a map. This cosmic drama unfolds inside a landscape you could walk across in a day. And then heaven answers the only way it can. The answer is absolute. Your petition will not be granted unto you, he is told to tell them, and judgment has been finally passed upon you. And from henceforth you shall not ascend into heaven unto all eternity. The scribe carries the refusal back down himself. That refusal did not stay inside this book. The Epistle of Jude describes angels who did not keep their own position, but deserted their proper dwelling, kept in eternal chains in deepest darkness. The same picture, in Scripture, that everyone kept. Now, some honesty about that stone. The pillar is real. The inscription is real. The oath it regulates is real. But the museum dates it to the 3rd century of the Common Era, and it belongs to the Temple of Mount Hermon. It is not a monument to the Watchers, and confirms nothing in this book. Nicolsburg's own conclusion is careful. He wrote that the inscription indicates the site continued to have religious significance and usage. That is all. And the manuscripts disagree in places, about numbers, about which angel taught what. Where they disagree, I left the disagreement in, which brings us back to the pillar in the storeroom. Strip away everything that cannot be proved, and one fact is left standing. 5 centuries after a Jewish text named this mountain for an oath, people were still climbing up there to swear binding oaths and cut a stone to say so. The book named it for a curse. The Romans built a sanctuary on it. Warren carried a piece down in 1869, and the Palestine Exploration Fund gave it to the museum in 1903, where it still tells anyone who reads Greek that you do not come up here unless you are prepared to swear. If you want the rest of this story, the Giants have a book of their own, and we read it in an earlier video. Enoch's own book is here too. Subscribe for the next one.